CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's episode, I want to say thank you to Lisa Collin and Dark Impulse 85. If you enjoy my channel, feel free to join. Thank you. I bought a book about the dead dimension on the dark web. I think it's becoming real. It started with a Discord DM. Alright, so this is probably the weirdest, most messed up thing that's ever happened to me. I don't even know how to start this, but I figured Reddit, specifically r/nosleep, might actually take me seriously. Because if I tell this to my friends or post it on TikTok, they're just gonna think I'm chasing clout or trying to be edgy. I swear I'm not. Anyway, my name's Tyler. I'm 22. I'm pretty normal, I guess. I work at this indie coffee shop near downtown Atlanta. I vape a lot, and I'm low-key addicted to Discord servers, especially the weird niche ones, like conspiracy theory groups, ARGs, glitch, in the Matrix type stuff. I know, but I'm telling you, there's some seriously wild shit in those circles, and that's where this whole nightmare started. It was a Thursday night, like 2:30 a.m., and I couldn't sleep. I was just vibing in my room, scrolling through my phone, kinda bored out of my mind. I had my LED lights set to that neon purple color, you know, the one, like streamer core. I was on Discord in the small server called The Wired, mostly just people sharing creepy lost media, cursed YouTube videos, stuff like that. Then I got this DM, unknown user whoosh137. I have something for you. It's called the Chronicles Mortem. Only 13 copies were ever made. I'll send you the link. Don't show anyone else. Okay, pause. First of all, the name. Chronicles Mortem sounds like the kind of crap you'd see in some cringy creepypasta from 2013. But something about it, I don't know. It gave me goosebumps, like the words felt wrong. Not scary, but off. Like when you see one of those AI-generated McDonald's commercials and something's moving, but it shouldn't be. I clicked on their profile. No mutual servers, no posts, no username history. Literally nothing. Their account was created that day. I was gonna ignore it, but the dude sent another message before I could close the chat. Unknown, user number 0137. Dead things still breathe in the right dimension. The book teaches you how to find the door. Then he dropped a link. A .onion link. Yeah, a real dark web link. Not just some edgy .xyz site, or a troll rickroll. The kind of thing that makes you feel like the feds are gonna kick in your door the second you click it. I hesitated. Like, obviously, I'm not a total idiot. I've heard all the horror stories. But curiosity, that shotty hits different at 2:45 a.m. when your brain's fried and you've had way too much Monster Energy and nicotine. So, I copied it, launched my Tails OS, popped open Tor, and I swear to God, this site looked like it was made in 1999. Plain black background, blood red text, no images, no menus, just a single button that said buy the book. No price, no shipping, no nothing, just buy the book. I clicked it. A box popped up asking for a crypto wallet. I had like $73 in some dusty old Bitcoin wallet from when Dogecoin was blowing up, so I said screw it and sent the full amount. I didn't even get a confirmation. The screen just refreshed and said, "You have been chosen." Didn't think much of it at the time. Figured it was just a dumb scam or some creepy pasta roleplay server thing. Went to bed. But 2 days later, the package came. I wasn't expecting anything, so when I saw the little black envelope in my mailbox, No return address, no postage, just wax sealed with this weird little symbol that looked like a sideways infinity sign. I felt that same chill, the same wrongness. Inside was the book. It wasn't even that big, like paperback sized, but it felt heavy, like unnaturally heavy. The cover was leather, stitched together like patchwork skin. I'm not saying it was skin, but okay, yeah, I'm saying it might have been skin. The title wasn't printed, it was carved in with something sharp. Chronicon Mortem. No author, no page numbers, just this weird rust-colored ink on yellowing paper. The first page was just a sentence. When you begin to dream of the third house, it is already too late. I flipped through it. Most of it was symbols, weird diagrams. A couple pages had what looked like hand-drawn maps, almost like blueprints, but the labels weren't in any language I recognized. One chapter, I swear to God, had a section written backwards, but in mirror-perfect penmanship. And from that night on, everything got weird. I started dreaming about a hallway, just a hallway, plain off-white walls, dirty gray carpet. You know that weird backrooms vibe? Like an abandoned office space at 3 a.m. It felt exactly like that, and every dream ended the same way. I'd reach a door, a black one, with that sideways infinity symbol. Then I'd wake up, same time, 3:33 a.m. every single night. I told my roommate Zach about it. He just laughed and told me to lay off the Reddit. But then he saw it too. The hallway. We hadn't even talked about the door detail, but he mentioned it. Verbatim. It was like a black door, with that dumb H-shaped sideways thing you keep drawing on your notebooks. Yeah, I'd been doodling it, without realizing it. That was when we both started taking it more seriously. We tried to burn the book. It didn't burn. We tried to throw it in the Chattahoochee. It was back on our porch the next morning, dry. Then we got visited. But let me just say this. Whatever the dead dimension is, it's not just a myth. It's not an ARG. It's not a creepy book club puzzle. It's something ancient, something watching. And I think we opened a door we weren't supposed to. The dreams were just the beginning. The black door, the endless hallway, those were just the appetizer. You ever feel like your life is glitching? Not in a Matrix kind of way. I mean reality starts pulling at the seams, like an old hoodie being picked apart thread by thread. That's what it became like, right after Zach and I tried to get rid of the book. 3 nights later, something walked out of my bedroom wall. No, listen, through the wall, not breaking it, not crawling in. It was like watching someone swim through fog. The drywall bent inward like it was breathing, pushing outwards, and then this thing just peeled itself out of the space where my IKEA bookshelf used to be. And yeah, the shelf was gone, like it had never existed. No marks, no screws, not even the little dust outline where it used to be. I didn't scream, I didn't move. I just watched, frozen, like my body forgot how to exist. Zach was asleep on the couch in the living room with noise-canceling headphones, dead to the world. The thing that came out, it looked like someone at first. It had a shape, humanish, but it didn't fit. Its arms were the wrong length, too many joints, shoulders too low, no clothes, no features, just this blurred, rotting gray skin stretched too tight, as if it had been vacuum sealed onto bones that didn't belong together. And no face. It had flesh where the face should have been, smooth like wet paper, but twitching, like something underneath was trying to poke through. It walked past me, didn't acknowledge me, didn't look around, just dragged its long, cracking legs across my bedroom floor and laid down on my bed. Then it vanished. The next morning, my bed was soaked, like someone had poured a bucket of black water all over it. The mattress was humming, not a noise, not like a tone, humming like a refrigerator or a brain under pressure. Zach saw it too. We didn't say anything. We just stood there in the doorway for like 5 full minutes, trying to process it. I didn't sleep for 72 hours after that. Let me fast forward, because this isn't just some haunted apartment situation. It's way deeper. The book, it started changing. Physically. Pages that used to be blank were filled in, written in languages that glitched in and out like corrupted subtitles. Sometimes I'd blink and the ink would bleed, smear across the page like it was still wet. The cover started growing. Hair. I'm not kidding. Short, fine little bristles along the spine, black as tar. And the more I read, the more it started making sense. Not in a way where I understood the words, but in that psychotic clarity kind of way, where things click in your head and you don't know why. Like when you stare into static and suddenly you hear your name whispered inside it. The book had diagrams now. One was labeled inversion points. Another showed a house with 4 staircases, all going down, but the last one ended in a black void, labeled the bone basement. Zach and I started seeing people outside our window at 4 a.m. They never moved. They just stood there, all wearing the same thing. Black hoodies, like from some lame cult. But their faces, every one of them had their mouths sewn shut, and they vibrated, just a little, like they were being filmed on an old CRT camera. The motion didn't match reality, like they were overlaid onto the world, badly edited. When I opened the window to scream, they vanished like burned film. But then they started leaving gifts. First, it was a rabbit's foot, still bleeding. Then a dog collar, with no dog. Then a child's backpack, with a single sock inside. And that sock was still warm. Zach lost it. He told me he was going to leave, take a bus to his sister's place in Tallahassee. Said he didn't care about the book, didn't care about the dimension. He was done. That was the last time I saw him alive. I woke up the next morning to the smell of something cooking. Not bacon, not eggs, burning flesh. The kitchen light was flickering like it had epilepsy. The microwave door was open. Zach's teeth were inside, arranged in a perfect circle. A small note was taped to the inside of the microwave. He opened the wrong door. You're next. There was no body. I called the cops. They showed up, searched the place, found nothing. No evidence Zach even existed. His room was empty. No clothes, no bed, no posters, just dust, like he'd never been there. But I have videos, TikToks we made together, Instagram stories from 2 days ago, his comments on my Twitch stream, gone. Every single one deleted, scrubbed, erased. I couldn't even find his Facebook anymore. No mutuals, no trace. It was like the dead dimension absorbed him. And that night, I finally opened the door. Not the one in the dream, the real one. See, one of the new pages in the book had changed. It showed my apartment layout, floor plan and all. But there was another room behind the closet, one that didn't exist. I got up at 3:33 a.m. Closet door opened on its own. The drywall behind the coats was soft, like wet tissue. I pushed. It tore. And behind it, a staircase. Not wood, not concrete, not metal. Something organic, like vertebrae, slippery. Every step creaked like a scream in reverse. The smell was copper and mildew and breath. I went down. Had to. I wasn't even in control of my body anymore. My legs moved like they were on puppet strings. I don't know how long I was down there. Time didn't exist. Could have been an hour. Could have been 3 days. All I know is, at the bottom, there was a mirror. Full length, dirty, cracked down the middle. And when I looked into it, it wasn't me. It was, but it wasn't. The reflection was grinning, mouth too wide, ear to ear. My eyes were gone, black sockets pouring maggots, and it was writing on the mirror, carving it with its fingernail. The dead dimension is inside you. Then it said my name, out loud, but not just once. It echoed, everywhere, in the walls, in my stomach, in my bones, over and over and over. Tyler, Tyler, Tyler. I woke up in my bathtub, fully clothed, water ice cold, fingers raw. The mirror in my bathroom, it had the carving, same words, same handwriting. I haven't left my apartment in 6 days. There's something under my bed. I hear it breathing. I hear the pages turning. The book is open even when I shut it. It moved last night, crawled across the floor on its own. I haven't eaten, haven't slept. My neighbor's cat was nailed to my door yesterday. Its eyes were removed, and its mouth stuffed with pages from my book. But I didn't tear them out. Someone, or something, did. And it's not done with me. I think I'm a chapter now. The city that breathes underneath us. I stopped trusting time after that night. My phone said it was Tuesday. The TV said it was Sunday. My Google Home kept answering questions I wasn't asking, whispering reminders like, "You've already been here before, and please stop looking at the walls." I unplugged it. It kept talking for another minute. I realized something important during that stretch, where sleep stopped being a thing. The dead dimension doesn't arrive. It overlaps, like two videos playing on top of each other, just slightly out of sync. And once you notice the delay, you can't unsee it. I tried grounding myself in normal life. That's what therapists say to do, right? Focus on routine, familiar places, human noise. So I left the apartment for the first time in almost a week and walked to the McDonald's down the street. Same one I'd been going to since high school. Yellow arches, sticky floors, the smell of oil that never leaves your clothes. Everything looked normal until I ordered. The girl at the counter smiled too late, like her face received the command a second after I finished speaking. Her eyes didn't focus on me. They focused through me. When she handed me my change, her fingers were ice cold and damp, like they'd been soaking in a sink too long. "You shouldn't be outside," she whispered, still smiling. I froze. Asked her what she meant. She blinked, confused, and asked me to repeat my order. Behind her, the menu board flickered. For one frame, just one, I saw a different menu. No food, just words scrolling upward like subtitles. Bone, static, entry. Accepted, I left without the food. Outside, the street felt thinner, like a movie set. Cars drove by, but none of them made engine sounds. Their tires didn't touch the road. They hovered a fraction of an inch above it, vibrating. A man across the street stood in front of a Starbucks, staring at his phone. He hadn't moved since I came out. When I crossed halfway, he looked up and mouthed something. Not words, coordinates. I ran. Back at the apartment, the book was waiting in the middle of the floor, open to a new section. The pages were no longer paper. They were something else. Translucent, veiny, like onion skin stretched over muscle. The text rearranged itself while I watched, letters crawling like insects, finding new places to die. This chapter didn't describe the dead dimension. It described me. my habits, my apartment layout, the scar on my left knee from when I wiped out skateboarding at 16, a paragraph about Zach, but written in past tense, long before he disappeared. Another paragraph, titled Subject Acceptance Behavior. I understood then. The book wasn't teaching me about the dimension. It was documenting my transition into it. That night, the city peeled open. I don't know how else to describe it. I looked out my bedroom window at 3:33 a.m., because of course it was, and the skyline shifted. Buildings sagged like tired animals. Streets bent downward, curving into impossible spirals. Underneath the asphalt, something pulsed. A heartbeat, massive and slow. I saw people walking below street level, not in sewers, not in tunnels, just beneath. Their bodies were blurred, half-rendered, like NPCs that hadn't fully loaded. Some of them looked up and waved. One of them was Zach, or something wearing him. His face was stretched wrong, smile too vertical, eyes floating slightly apart, like a bad Snapchat filter. He knocked on the underside of the street. Each knock made my teeth vibrate. I backed away from the window. The wall behind me answered the knocking. That's when the voices started arguing, not outside, inside my head. One voice sounded like me, panicked, cracking, begging to wake up. The other was calm, instructional, almost gentle. It explained that fear was a side effect of misalignment, that once I fully crossed, the noise would stop. It asked me to bring the book somewhere public. I don't remember deciding to do it. I just remember being on the subway platform the next morning, holding the book in a tote bag, surrounded by people pretending not to see the way the lights flickered, only when I blinked. The digital sign kept changing destinations, not stations, rooms. Fourth house, now boarding, no return service. A man sat next to me on the bench. He smelled like dust in hospitals. He leaned in close, so close his breath brushed my ear. I read it too, he said. Didn't finish. I asked him what happened. They hollowed my wife out, he replied flatly. Left her walking. She still cooks dinner, still laughs at sitcoms, but there's nothing behind her eyes. The book took the rest. Before I could ask anything else, the train arrived. The doors opened. He didn't get on. Neither did anyone else. I was the only one who stepped inside. The subway car wasn't a car. It was a corridor. Long, narrow, lined with doors on both sides, each one labeled with handwritten names. Some were crossed out. Some were dripping. My name was at the end. As the doors slammed shut behind me, the book opened in my hands by itself. The final lines of the chapter carved themselves in deep, tearing strokes. He will understand now. The corridor lights went out. Something grabbed my ankle from below the floor, not pulling, anchoring, like it didn't want me to leave, like I belonged there. I'm writing this from my phone with 1% battery, no signal, no idea where here is anymore. The walls are breathing, the floor is warm, the doors are opening one by one, and I can hear people inside them, people who sound like they're halfway through screaming and never allowed to finish. Or it means the book finally learned how to write by itself. Either way, the dead dimension isn't hidden. It's under everything. You can't leave a place that's already inside you. The corridor didn't end. It throbbed. The walls flexed in slow waves, contracting and relaxing like a throat deciding whether to swallow. Every few steps, a door peeled open on its own, hinges crying softly, releasing sounds that didn't belong to air. memories being chewed, prayers mispronounced, laughter stretched until it broke. I learned quickly not to look inside. The first time I did, I saw a bathroom that looked like the one from my childhood home. Same cracked tiles, same yellow light. Someone stood at the sink, washing their hands over and over, scrubbing so hard their knuckles were bone white. They turned, and their face was unfinished, not damaged, incomplete, like a sculpture abandoned halfway through. When they smiled, their mouth didn't open. It unzipped. I ran. The floor beneath me changed texture, going from warm and rubbery to something gritty, like walking on crushed teeth. The corridor curved downward until gravity forgot which way was down. I slid, slammed into a wall, and landed in a wide open space that felt less like a room and more like the inside of something very large and very sick. It was a city, not above ground, not underground, interwoven. Buildings fused together, growing out of each other like tumors. Streets braided into spirals. Neon signs flickered with symbols instead of letters, advertising things like remembering and unbirth services. I saw landmarks twisted into mockeries, an airport terminal with no planes, just gates opening into darkness, a shopping mall where mannequins wore real human expressions, blinking in unison. People walked there, or what passed for people. Some were missing shadows, some had too many. Some moved in jerks, like frames were missing between steps, and every single one of them avoided looking at the sky. I made the mistake of looking up. There was no sky, just layers, floors of reality stacked like meat in a freezer. Above me, I saw the underside of streets I recognized, a Target parking lot, a highway overpass, the roof of a McDonald's, its golden arches warped into something that looked suspiciously like that sideways infinity symbol, glowing faintly like a brand. Something massive moved between the layers, not flying, pressing. It traced along the ceilings, testing for weak spots, occasionally poking through just enough to let an eye emerge. The eye wasn't round. It was rectangular, like a camera lens, and it focused on me the moment I noticed it. That's when the book screamed, not metaphorically, not in my head. It screamed, a high-pitched, mechanical shriek that made the buildings around me recoil. The cover split open, not at the spine, but down the middle, revealing pages that were no longer pages. They were thin slabs of something hard and yellowed, etched with grooves, like a vinyl record. I didn't read them. They read me. Images flooded my mind, memories I didn't know I still had, stitched together with moments that had never happened. I saw myself years from now, older, hollow-eyed, sitting in a Starbucks with a laptop open, typing warnings that no one would take seriously. I saw myself standing in an ER hallway, watching doctors argue over a body they couldn't identify because its fingerprints kept changing. I saw myself opening the book for someone else. The dead dimension doesn't hunt randomly. It recruits. A siren wailed in the distance. Not police, not ambulance. Something deeper. A call and response sound, like the city itself was coordinating movement. The people around me froze, then turned in perfect synchronization. They looked at me. Every mouth opened at once. Returning asset located. They rushed me, hands grabbing, fingers digging into my clothes, my hair, my skin, but not trying to hurt me, trying to position me, like movers handling furniture. They dragged me through streets that folded inward, down an escalator that led into a flooded subway station where the water hung in midair, thick and black, full of shapes that bumped against the surface from below. They strapped me into a chair made of traffic signs and bone-white plastic. A screen lowered in front of my face, flickering to life. It showed my apartment, clean, normal. Sunlight through the window. Someone sat at my desk, typing on my computer. It looked exactly like me. The thing on the screen paused, turned, and stared directly into the camera. Into me. It smiled. Not wide, not distorted. Just satisfied. A voice filled the space, calm and instructional, the same one I'd heard before. Continuity requires replacement. You are not being erased. You are being relocated. I felt something press against the back of my head. Not sharp, not painful, just firm, like a stamp. The world inverted. I woke up on my apartment floor, gasping, lungs burning, the smell of stale coffee and dust grounding me just enough to keep me from screaming. Morning light streamed through the blinds. My phone buzzed with notifications, texts, DMs, missed calls, people asking if I was okay, if I remembered last night, if I was still coming to work. Everything looked normal, too normal. I checked the mirror. My reflection smiled a half second too late. On my desk, the book sat closed, pristine, harmless looking. No hair, no stains, just leather and a title carved neatly into the cover. My phone buzzed again. A DM from an unknown account. Unknown user number 0137. Good, you made it back. Part 5 will be easier. I don't know how long I have before the switch finalizes. I can feel it, like a numbness spreading behind my eyes, like something settling into a place it's been waiting for. It'll be an invitation, and if you're still reading this, you're already closer than you think. This is how it ends and starts again. I stopped blinking because every time I did, something changed. At first, it was small things. My kitchen clock ticking backward for a second before correcting itself. My phone unlocking without Face ID. My reflection breathing when I wasn't. Then it escalated. Messages I didn't remember sending. Emails already replied to in my writing style, but with words I'd never choose. I'd open Instagram and see stories posted from my account of places I hadn't been. A gas station bathroom with a flickering light, a freeway shoulder at dawn, a Starbucks table with 2 coffees, one untouched, one already cold. No captions, just timestamps that didn't line up with my day. The city felt rehearsed. People moved like they were hitting marks. Conversations ended too cleanly. Laughter cut off like a soundboard button. When I passed storefront windows, my reflection lagged by a breath, then caught up with a smile I wasn't wearing. I tried to tell someone, anyone. I called my mom. She answered on the 3rd ring and spoke my name like she was reading it off a cue card. I asked her what year it was. She laughed, then went silent for a full 10 seconds. When she came back, her voice had dropped an octave. "You already asked me that," she said. "Don't make this harder." The call ended by itself. That night, I realized the book wasn't waiting anymore. It was working. It opened to a final section without my touching it. The pages didn't turn. They separated, like something inside them was breathing and needed room. The text wasn't instructions or diagrams this time. It was a checklist. Names, dates, locations, little boxes filled in beside most of them. My name sat at the bottom, unchecked. A knock came from my door, not the front door, the inside of it, like someone on the other side knocking outward. I backed away until I hit the wall. The knock became a rhythm. 3 taps, pause, 2 taps, pause. The same pattern the book's margins had been marked with since the beginning. a beat I hadn't noticed consciously, but had somehow memorized. "Don't open it," I said out loud, to no one. My hand moved anyway. The door didn't swing open. It retracted, melting into the frame, revealing a room that shouldn't exist, an in-between space that smelled like dust and electricity. Monitors lined the walls, hundreds of them, each showing a different angle of the same thing. Me, walking, sitting, sleeping, talking, living variations of my life like reruns. In the center of the room was a chair. Strapped into it was the other me. He looked worse than I felt. Skin dull, eyes sunken, mouth cracked from screaming that never finished. He watched me approach with something between relief and hatred. "Don't," he whispered. "If you take my place, you won't remember why you fought it. That's how it wins." Behind him, a screen lit up with a live feed of my apartment. The version of me on the screen stood, stretched, and picked up the book like it was an old friend. A voice filled the room, not loud, not threatening, corporate, polite. Transition requires consent. Consent has been inferred by continued engagement. I laughed. A short, ugly sound. "That's not consent." The other me started crying, quietly, like he'd already learned it didn't matter. The chair beside him slid closer on its own. I understood then. This was the last step. Not possession, not replacement. Rotation. The dead dimension didn't erase people. It archived them, stored them in the gaps, used them to stabilize the overlap. Every story needed a narrator. Every door needed someone to open it from both sides. The book pulsed in my hands, eager. I did something I hadn't tried before. I closed my eyes. Not a blink. A full shutdown. I thought of nothing specific. No memories, no fear, no plan. Just absence. For the first time since this started, I didn't look, didn't listen, didn't read. The room screamed. Not sound. Feedback. The monitors flickered. The voice stuttered, repeating syllables like a scratched record. The other me looked up, shocked, as the straps around him loosened. "You're not allowed to stop observing," the voice snapped, losing its calm. "I am," I said, eyes still shut. "Because you only exist when I'm watching." Something slammed into me from all sides. Pressure. Weight. Like the city dropping on my shoulders. I felt hands clawing at my thoughts, trying to force my eyes open, trying to drag me back into the loop. I held them shut. I don't know how long it lasted. Time isn't useful there. When it ended, I was alone in my apartment, the door intact, the book gone, no extra rooms, no monitors, no second chair. I checked everything, my phone, my accounts, my reflection. Normal. I moved out the next day. New city, new job, new routines. I deleted Discord, wiped my old hard drives. I don't go looking for weird corners of the internet anymore. I don't stay up past midnight. I don't read comments on horror videos. For a while, it worked. Then yesterday, I found a book in a little free library outside a McDonald's off the highway. Leather cover, no title, no author, just a small symbol carved into the back, a sideways infinity. Inside the cover was a note, written in my handwriting. "You did great. Now you know how to survive it." My phone buzzed with a notification from an app I don't remember installing. Upload complete. If you're reading this because you found the story somewhere strange, re-uploaded, reposted, narrated by a channel that doesn't exist anymore, then it means the dead dimension didn't lose. It adapted. And now it doesn't need the book. It has this. I accepted a dark web contract to find a missing person in a town that didn't want me there. Alright, so I don't know how to start this without sounding like a total idiot. I'm not proud of this. In fact, I regret almost every decision that led me here. But I feel like I have to tell someone. Reddit seems like the only place I can do that anonymously without ending up in a ditch somewhere. So yeah, here goes. This all started back in August of this year. I was 25, broke as hell, working overnight security at a mall near Cincinnati that's been dying since like 2013. I had too much time on my hands, way too much Reddit and YouTube horror rabbit holing, and zero regard for my mental health. I stumbled into the darker corners of the internet, the way a lot of people do. Curiosity mixed with boredom. You hear about the deep web and dark web and think it's just hype. You expect hitmen ads, red rooms, weird crypto scams, but honestly, most of it's just garbage. Dead links, edgy trolls, onion sites selling fake IDs, or 100% real haunted dolls from Japan. Stuff like that. But this wasn't that. I ended up on a forum called CORRIDOR. Yeah, spelled like that, with zeros instead of O's, which already felt sketchy. It had this old school black and green design, like it hadn't been updated since 2007. Most of it looked like your average weirdo bulletin board. Strange art, conspiracy theories, urban exploration meetups. But one thread caught my eye. It was titled, Contract, $10,000, Locate Missing Person, High Priority, Discretion Required. I clicked it expecting spam or a joke, but it was too specific. Female, 22, last seen October 14th, 2023, in Asheview, may be using false name. Subject may be hostile or unaware of her disappearance. Locate and confirm status. $10,000 in BTC on delivery of proof. Do not contact local authorities. DM for more. I'd never heard of Asheview. Thought it was made up. I Google Maps'd it, thinking I'd find some tiny nowhere village in like Kazakhstan or whatever. But nope. It was real. Small-ass town in West Virginia. Population under 2,000. Nothing about it on social media, except for a single geotagged image of an abandoned Dairy Queen on Instagram from 2021. No Wikipedia page, just a blip on the map that somehow had 3 churches, no gas stations, and one Dollar General. I told myself I wasn't seriously considering it, but I was. My bank account had $137.44 in it. My car was a 2007 Civic with a dent in the back and a gas tank that pinged E like it was crying for help. The idea of $10,000 for just finding someone, even if it was weird, was more than I could ignore. So I messaged the poster. The user's name was just YHWH.exe. They replied within 10 minutes, which honestly freaked me out more than anything. It was 3:42 a.m. The message was short. Just, you accept the contract. No names, no police, no third parties. Go to Asheview. Find her. Proof equals payment. Attached was a blurry image of the girl. Dark hair, pale skin, wide green eyes like she was in on some joke I wasn't part of. No name, no contact. Just a pic and a pinned map location of a place called Jasper's Hollow Cafe on the outskirts of Asheview. I typed back, "Do I need to meet anyone?" They replied, "No one in Asheview will help you. They don't want her found." Here's the thing, I should have dipped out. The whole vibe was screaming get out before it's too late. But I didn't. I packed a bag, borrowed gas money from my cousin, and 2 days later, I was driving into the woods of West Virginia with a loaded flashlight, a taser I got off Amazon, and the stupid idea that I could treat this like a vlog-style adventure. Like I was gonna be Luna telling y'all a creepy story that ends with, and that's when I got out alive. Yeah, no. The first weird thing happened when I stopped at a McDonald's about 40 minutes from Asheview. I just needed food and a chance to charge my phone, right? But when I walked in, the guy behind the counter looked at me like he recognized me. I don't mean like, hey, you look familiar. I mean like his whole vibe shifted the moment I said I was headed through the area. He got real quiet. You driving through to Asheview? I didn't say yes or no. I just shrugged. He didn't press, but the way he handed me the coffee, with both hands, real gentle, he slipped a receipt under the cup. Not the printed kind, just like notebook paper folded tight. I opened it in the parking lot, and it said, "Turn back. Do not trust the cafe. They watch." That's when I felt it, like something watching me from the tree line across the lot. Not a person, not an animal. Something wrong. Like when your brain tells you there's a face in the static, even though there shouldn't be. I got to Asheview around 5:13 p.m., and the whole place looked like it hadn't seen the sun since 1988. Overgrown yards, street signs with the names scratched off. Every window either boarded up or covered with old curtains that fluttered without wind. There were people, but none of them were right. They didn't make eye contact. They moved in slow, jittery ways like laggy Sims, like they were pretending to be people. I passed a man on the sidewalk. He was staring into a shattered phone, muttering to it like he expected it to answer, just saying over and over, "She's not gone. She's not gone. She's not gone." I pulled into the cafe's dirt lot. It was real, all right. Jasper's Hollow was painted in fading script above the door. Windows foggy, a single open sign flickering like it was glitching. Inside looked normal, almost too normal, like a movie set trying to look cozy. The waitress greeted me by name. I swear, I never told her anything. "Hey there, Logan," she said, pouring me a cup of coffee I didn't order. "Took you long enough." Her name tag said Ellie. She was smiling, but her eyes weren't. You know that look someone gives you when they know something you don't? That's what it felt like. That whole town was like that. She leaned in and whispered, "She's still here, but you shouldn't be. They don't want her found." Then she smiled again, stood up straight, and said loud enough for the empty cafe to hear, "Just scream if you need anything." That night, I stayed at the only motel in town. It was called the Maple Tree, the kind of place that still uses actual keys, smells like mothballs and mildew, and has a front desk clerk who didn't blink the entire time I checked in. Just watched me like I was already on a missing person poster. The Wi-Fi password was Seeker. No caps, no numbers, just Seeker. Room 6. At 2:14 a.m., I heard tapping on my window. My second floor window. When I looked out, I didn't see anything, except for handprints. On the inside, I didn't sleep after the handprints. I sat on the edge of the motel bed until sunrise, shoes still on, jacket zipped, phone in my hand with the flashlight pointed at the window, like it could somehow keep reality away. The prints didn't fade. They didn't slide down the glass. They stayed exactly where they were, like whoever, or whatever, put them there, wanted me to remember the size, the spacing of the fingers, the fact that one of them was missing a nail. At 6:02 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown contact. No number. Just a grey profile circle. Unknown. You looked scared. I didn't reply. My battery was at 11%, even though I'd charged it overnight. I unplugged it and noticed the cord was warm. Hot, actually. Like it had been pulling power the whole time and giving none of it back. Another message. Unknown. Room 6 was a bad choice. I stood up so fast, the chair scraped backward and knocked into the wall. I didn't pack. I didn't shower. I didn't even check out. I just walked out of the Maple Tree Motel, like the building might grab me if I lingered. Outside, Ashview looked different in daylight, but not better. Worse. You know how some places feel abandoned at night, but normal during the day? This town did the opposite. Morning light exposed things I hadn't noticed before. Houses with no doors, cars parked in driveways, with their tires sunk deep into the dirt like they'd been there for decades. A playground where every swing was moving, slow and uneven, even though the air was dead still. People were out now, standing, watching, not talking, not walking, just standing in front of their homes, in parking lots, outside the church, with the broken steeple, staring straight at me like I was the only channel left on TV. I pulled out my phone and tried to record. The camera app opened, but the screen showed me, already standing though, already recording from an angle that wasn't possible, like someone was filming me from across the street. I shut the app. My hands were shaking. I went back to the cafe because I didn't know where else to go. Jasper's Hollow looked busier than before. Too busy. Every booth was filled, but no one was eating. Plates of untouched food sat cold and congealed under buzzing lights. The smell was wrong, sweet and rotten at the same time. Ellie wasn't there. Instead, a man stood behind the counter, tall, bold. His face was so smooth, it looked unfinished, like a mannequin that hadn't been painted yet. He didn't blink when I walked in. "You're early," he said. "I'm leaving," I said. "I don't care about the contract anymore." He smiled at that. Not wide, just enough. "No one leaves until she's found." I asked him who she was. He leaned over the counter and lowered his voice. "She's the reason Ashview still exists." That's when I noticed the walls. They were covered in photos, hundreds of them. Polaroids, phone screenshots, CCTV stills. People sleeping, people crying in cars, people standing in Starbucks lines, scrolling on their phones, unaware they were being photographed from across the street. I saw Times Square, a McDonald's in Tokyo, a beach in Spain, ordinary people in ordinary places. All of them had the same thing scratched into the image somewhere. A symbol, a spiral with a break in the middle, like it was unfinished. I recognized it immediately. It was the logo from Kurwender. "You take the photos?" I asked. The man shook his head slowly. "No, we keep them." I backed away and bumped into someone behind me. A woman. Her eyes were red and glossy, like she hadn't slept in weeks. "She doesn't know she's missing," the woman whispered. "That's the worst part." I ran. Out the door, down the street, past houses where people leaned out of windows to watch me go. I could hear footsteps behind me, but every time I turned around, there was no one there. Just that sound, shoes on pavement, always matching my pace. I ducked into the old church because I thought maybe, stupidly, that it would be safe. Inside, the air was freezing. The pews were carved with names, hundreds of names. Some crossed out, some circled, some scratched so deep the wood was splintered. At the altar, there was a bulletin board covered in missing person flyers. One of them was fresh. It was me. My name. My photo. From my Instagram. Even the stupid bio quote I hadn't updated since college. Last seen. Ashview. WV. I don't remember screaming, but my throat burned like I had. Behind the altar door, I found a staircase leading down. I told myself not to go. I told myself every horror movie ever made was yelling at me to stop. I went anyway. The basement was lit by monitors, dozens of them. Live feeds, streets, rooms, phone cameras. One screen showed room 6. Another showed me, standing in the church basement, staring at the monitors. In the corner of the room was a girl. She was sitting on a folding chair, hands resting calmly in her lap, humming softly like a child trying to soothe herself. Dark hair, pale skin, green eyes, the girl from the photo. She looked up at me and smiled. "Oh," she said, "they finally sent someone new." I asked her if she was being held there, if she needed help. She tilted her head. "Help with what?" I told her people were looking for her, that she was missing. Her smile faded. "No," she said quietly. "I'm hiding." "From what?" She glanced at the cameras, at the walls, at the town above us. "From becoming like them." The lights flickered. Every monitor went black at once. And in the darkness, something started moving behind me. Slow, wet, breathing too close to my ear. That's when my phone buzzed again. "Unknown. You were warned." I turned around, and Ashview showed me what happens to people who look too closely when the masks came off. I didn't come back to the street the way I entered the church. 1 second, I was in pitch black, my phone buzzing itself to death in my hand. That breathing sound pressed so close, it felt like my ear was inside someone else's mouth. And then I was outside, flat on my back in the dirt behind the building, staring at a sky that looked wrong, too low, like it was watching. I don't know how long I lay there. Time didn't behave normally in Ashview. My phone said it was 3:07 p.m., but the sun was already sinking, dragging long shadows across the town, like fingers reaching for me. I sat up and immediately wished I hadn't. The town had changed. Not physically. Everything was still where it had been, but the act was over. The pretending, the quiet watching. People weren't hiding it anymore. They were waiting. Every road leading out of Ashview was blocked, not with barricades or police tape, but with cars. Old ones, new ones, some still running, engines humming low and steady, exhaust fogging the air. Others rusted and dead, doors hanging open like mouths frozen mid-scream. I recognized a few license plates from out of state. Ohio, Florida, California. People who came here and never left. My phone vibrated again. A new message from YHWH.exe. YHWH.exe. "You've met her now. That means you're involved." I typed back without thinking. "Me. Let me leave. I won't say anything." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. YHWH.exe. No one who sees the process leaves unchanged. I stood and started walking anyway. Not toward my car. I already knew I wouldn't find it, but down the main road, toward the Dollar General at the edge of town. It was the only place that felt even remotely connected to reality. Corporate, soulless, familiar. As I walked, doors opened. People stepped out. Not all at once. One by one. Like a wave. They lined the street behind me, maintaining the same distance, matching my pace. I could hear them whispering, overlapping voices saying fragments of sentences that didn't make sense on their own. Almost ready. She lasted longer. New one fits better. I broke into a run. The Dollar General lights were on. I yanked the door open and stumbled inside, slamming it shut behind me. The automatic lock clicked. For a second, I felt relief. Then I saw the aisles. Every shelf was stocked with things no store should sell. Phones, laptops, cameras, external hard drives, each one labeled with a name and a date. Some dates went back decades. At the checkout counter, a teenage girl stood scanning items that weren't there. Her eyes were hollow, ringed dark, like she hadn't slept in years. "Do you have a rewards number?" she asked flatly. I told her no. She looked up at me then, really looked, and her expression cracked. "Please," she whispered, "don't let them put me back online." I didn't understand what she meant until I saw the screen behind her. It showed a live stream, not on YouTube, not Twitch, on Corowandera. Thousands of viewers. The title read, "New Seeker, Ashview." The camera angle was from somewhere above me. I turned slowly. There was a dome camera in the ceiling, its lens rotating to track my movement. Red light blinking. The comments were flying by too fast to read, but a few stuck out. "This one's scared early. He won't last. Wonder if he'll replace her." Replace her. The girl at the register started crying. Not loud, just tears sliding down her face, dripping onto the counter. "They take pieces," she said. "Not like organs, like moments, memories, the parts that make you you." She pulled up her sleeve and showed me her arm. There was a tattoo there, that spiral symbol again. Only it wasn't ink. It was scar tissue, raised and shiny, like it had been carved into her. "They live stream it," she continued. "People pay to watch someone disappear slowly, not die. Worse." The glass doors began to shake, not from pounding, from leaning. The entire town pressed against the storefront, faces smeared against the glass, smiling, phones held up. Recording. A man in a suit stepped forward. He raised a hand, and the shaking stopped instantly. Through the glass, he mouthed one word. "Come." The back door of the store burst open. I ran. The stockroom led to a hallway I didn't recognize, long and narrow, lined with doors on both sides. Each door had a small window. I looked into one as I passed. Inside was a bedroom, normal, suburban. A guy sat on the bed, scrolling TikTok, laughing at something on his phone. He looked relaxed, safe. Then the lights flickered. His smile froze. Hands reached out from the walls, not bursting through, emerging like they had always been there, waiting under the paint. They grabbed his arms, his legs, his head, holding him still as the room began to distort, stretching and compressing like a corrupted video file. I kept running. At the end of the hall was a metal door labeled "Upload." Before I could stop myself, it opened. Inside was a chair bolted to the floor, surrounded by cables and cameras and screens showing different versions of the same girl, the one I'd met in the basement, smiling, crying, screaming, frozen mid-sentence. A voice spoke behind me. "You see why she hides now?" I turned. The girl stood there, but she looked different, tired, older, like she'd lived 100 lives in that town and remembered all of them. "They don't need bodies anymore," she said. "Just participation." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "If they catch you, you won't disappear. You'll stay here forever, on loop, watched, consumed." The livestream counter ticked higher. Outside, I could hear chanting now. My name, over and over, mispronounced, but unmistakable. The girl grabbed my wrist. "Decide," she said. "Run with me, or take my place." That's when the lights went out across the entire building, and something much bigger than the town itself started waking up. What Ashview was built to feed, the dark didn't fall all at once. It pressed in, thick and deliberate, like something massive leaning its weight against the building. The emergency lights never came on. The monitors didn't flicker back. Even the chanting outside stopped, cut off mid-syllable, as if someone had muted the town. In that silence, I realized something worse than fear. The silence was listening. The girl's hand was still locked around my wrist. Her grip was strong in a way that didn't match her thin frame, like adrenaline had rewired her muscles permanently. She pulled me away from the chair, away from the cables, toward a maintenance door half hidden behind hanging wires. "Don't talk," she whispered. "It hears language first." I didn't ask what hears. I didn't want the answer. We moved through a maze that felt older than the building above it. Concrete walls gave way to stone. Stone gave way to something that looked carved, not constructed. Smooth curves, etched with the same broken spiral, repeating endlessly like a signature. The deeper we went, the warmer it got. Not heat, body warmth. Like walking into a crowded room you couldn't see. My phone buzzed again, even though there was no signal. The screen lit up on its own. A live notification. Kerwander. Stream continues. The viewer count was still climbing. I thought turning off the cameras would stop it, I whispered. She shook her head. They're not cameras. We reached a wide chamber that made my stomach drop the moment I stepped inside. The ceiling disappeared into darkness. The floor sloped downward toward a central pit, ringed by railings worn smooth by hands. Thousands of hands, not severed, not detached, just impressions, grooves carved into the stone from people gripping it over and over, leaning forward, watching. Above the pit hung screens, hundreds of them, suspended by cables like a chandelier made of eyes. Each screen showed someone, somewhere in the world, going about their day. A man washing dishes, a woman jogging with earbuds in, a kid filming himself in a bathroom mirror. None of them knew they were here. "This is where they tune in," the girl said. "Not to watch us, to be watched through." I asked her who they were. She hesitated, then pointed down. At first, I thought the pit was empty. Then it moved. The thing inside Ashview didn't have a shape the brain likes to hold on to. Every time I tried to focus on it, my mind slid away, like looking directly at the sun. But I felt it. A pressure behind my eyes, a crawling sensation under my skin, like my thoughts were being rearranged to make room for something else. "It feeds on attention," she said. "Fear is just the easiest flavor." She told me the town was built on top of it, not to contain it, but to serve it. A funnel, a lens. Ashview wasn't hidden from the world. It was plugged into it. Every live stream, every viral clip, every true crime binge, it all led here eventually. The dark web contract wasn't about finding her. It was about finding replacements. People who were curious, broke, lonely. People who would notice when something was wrong and keep looking anyway. People like me. My phone buzzed harder this time, vibrating so violently I dropped it. The screen cracked when it hit the stone, but the video kept playing. I was on it, not live, ahead. I watched myself walking toward the pit, my face slack, my mouth smiling just a little. In the video, the girl wasn't with me. In the video, I was alone. "That's what happens if you stay," she said softly. "You become a preview." Something shifted in the pit. A sound came up from it. Not a roar, not a scream, but a layered murmur, like thousands of voices speaking over each other at once. Names, places, snippets of conversations I recognized from my own life. It knew me. The railings began to hum, the screens flickered, and the people on them started to slow, their movements stuttering like buffering video. The girl grabbed my face and forced me to look at her. "You have to hurt it," she said. "Not physically. You have to deny it." "How?" I asked, my teeth chattering despite the heat. She smiled then, and it broke my heart because it wasn't kind or cruel. It was resigned. "You stop being interesting." Before I could ask what she meant, she shoved me backward. I fell hard, knocking the air out of my lungs. When I looked up, she was running toward the pit, climbing over the railing with practiced ease. "No!" I screamed, forgetting her warning. She turned just once. "Remember me wrong," she said. Then she jumped. The screens exploded into static. The sound from the pit became unbearable, a shrill, furious shriek that felt like needles driven into my thoughts. The pressure snapped. Something recoiled. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I ran. I don't remember the path I took. The corridors blurred together, walls seeming to bend out of my way, like the town itself was trying to spit me out. By the time I burst out into open air, it was night again. Or maybe it never stopped being night. Ashview was chaos. People were screaming now, not chanting, screaming in confusion, in pain, in loss. Some collapsed in the streets, clutching their heads. Others stared blankly at their phones, sobbing as screens went dark. The cafe was on fire. The motel was gone. And in the distance, I heard sirens for the first time since I arrived. Real ones. I made it to the edge of town before my legs gave out. I collapsed on the asphalt, gasping, laughing, crying all at once. Behind me, Ashview flickered like a bad signal. My phone buzzed one last time. YW.exe. You broke the feed. Me. Is it over? The reply came slowly. YW.exe. Nothing that eats ever truly starves. As dawn crept over the horizon, I realized the worst part. The viewer count on the cracked screen was still going up. And somewhere, somehow, the stream was still live. It followed me home. I didn't leave Ashview the way people imagine escape works. There was no clean break. No moment where the air suddenly felt normal again, where my phone regained signal and the world snapped back into place, like a paused video resuming. The town didn't end at the county line. It thinned. It stretched. It leaked. I walked for hours before I saw a highway sign that named a place I recognized. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else, moving on borrowed instructions. Every time a car passed, the headlights flared too bright, leaving after images burned into my vision. Spirals. Always spirals. When a state trooper finally pulled over, I almost collapsed into him. I tried to explain. I really did. I told him the town was wrong, that people were missing, that there was something underground feeding on attention like a parasite with an audience. He nodded, took notes, asked me to sit in the back of the cruiser. I watched my phone on the dashboard while he made a call. The screen lit up on its own. Kurwendera, stream archived. The trooper's voice changed when he came back. Softer, careful. He asked me if I'd been under stress lately, if I'd taken anything, if I'd slept. As he drove me to the hospital, his radio crackled with overlapping voices that didn't sound like dispatch. I caught fragments. Feed destabilized. Subject mobile. Do not let him trend. They kept me overnight. Observation. That's what they called it. White walls, no windows. A TV bolted to the ceiling, playing muted daytime shows. Laugh tracks without laughter. At 2:14 a.m., the TV turned on by itself. Static at first, then an image resolved. Ash view. Not burning, not collapsing. Quiet. Whole. The cafe lights were on. The church stood intact. People moved through the streets again, slower than before, like actors hitting their marks after a reset. A caption appeared at the bottom of the screen. Beta feed. New location pending. I tore the IV out of my arm and ran. I didn't go home after that. I bounced between cities, cheap motels, places where no one knew my name. I deleted my social media, smashed my old phone, paid cash for a burner. I stopped looking at screens unless I had to. It didn't matter. The ads found me anyway. A billboard outside a Starbucks showed a looping video that stuttered just enough for me to see my face in the reflection, standing behind the actors. A TikTok playing on the bus paused on a frame where the background twisted into that familiar spiral. A YouTube video auto-played at night, the volume creeping up on its own, whispering my name through the static between words. People started recognizing me, not like a celebrity, like a meme you can't quite place. "Hey," a guy at a McDonald's said, squinting at me. "Weren't you in that video?" "What video?" I asked, even though my stomach already knew. He shrugged. "The weird one, the town thing. It got taken down, I think." I stopped sleeping entirely after that. When I did drift off, I dreamed of standing at the edge of a pit I couldn't see the bottom of, holding a phone that wouldn't stop vibrating. In the dreams, I was always smiling, always interesting. One night, in a hostel 3 states away, my burner phone buzzed with a message from an app I didn't install. YHWH.exe. You did well. I didn't reply. YHWH.exe. Disruption creates demand. Another message followed, this one with an attachment. A map, not of Ashview, of somewhere else. A coastal town this time. Bright, trendy. The kind of place influencers flock to for sunset shots and latte art. The spiral was already there, faint but growing, stamped over the center like a watermark. YHWH.exe. People need new stories. I smashed the phone against the wall until it stopped lighting up. The screen shattered, but even broken, it glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Here's the part I've been avoiding. The truth isn't that Ashview followed me. It's that Ashview learned from me. It learned that fear travels faster when it's packaged as entertainment. That horror spreads better when it feels real, when it wears the skin of everyday life. That people don't need to be dragged into the dark. They'll walk there themselves if you give them a reason to look. I still see the girl sometimes, not in dreams, in reflections, in the black mirror of turned off screens. She never speaks. She just watches, like she's waiting to see what I'll do next. Because here's the thing they don't tell you about surviving something like this. You don't come back normal. You come back connected. Every time I type this, every time you read it, I feel that pressure again, that warmth, that sense of being watched from just behind the idea of the room you're in. The feed doesn't need Ashview anymore. It has us. If this post disappears, if my account goes dark, don't look for me. Don't investigate. Don't dig. That's how it starts. That's how it eats. And if you ever see a contract offering easy money to find someone who doesn't want to be found, scroll past. For the love of whatever you believe in, let the story starve. I thought the dark web was just crime. Then I found the holiday section. Okay, so let me preface this by saying I'm not stupid. I've seen all the creepy pasta horror stories on YouTube. I used to fall asleep watching those deep web horror story animations with the synthetic voices. I was that guy who would leave a Luna video on at 2 a.m. and just let it run while I scrolled Instagram and passed out. So yeah, I knew what I was getting into, or at least I thought I did. It all started earlier this year during spring break. I had nothing going on, wasn't traveling, didn't have a girlfriend, and most of my friends were out of town. So I got bored, really bored. I was messing around on Reddit, scrolling through r/creepy and r/deep into YouTube, just random weird internet rabbit holes. That's when I stumbled on a post that said, "Have you ever seen the holiday section of the dark web?" No link, no upvotes, nothing. Just the sentence. The account was deleted, which made it even sketchier. I figured it was some troll bait, but the phrase holiday section stuck with me. Like, what does that even mean? Are there dark web discounts for Father's Day or some shark tea? Anyway, that night, I went to YouTube and searched for dark web holiday section. Nothing useful. Just the usual generic clickbait. Voiceover videos with black backgrounds and red text. I almost gave up right there, but I made a stupid decision. One that I'd seriously take back if I could. I had this old laptop, my test dummy laptop, basically just for torrenting and stupid experiments. It was running on some bloated version of Linux, full of VPNs and Tor browsers, all the crap I'd used back when I was trying to download Japanese game mods and watch banned episodes of Pokemon or whatever. That night, I booted it up again and started digging. Tor, hidden wiki, a few random .onion links. Most of it was just the usual stuff. Drug markets, fake passport services, Bitcoin lottery scams. I was about to log off when I found something strange on a hidden wiki mirror. It just said, "The holiday section celebrations, tailored for you. Click here to unwrap." I don't know why, but I clicked it. The site was oddly cheerful. Like, the first thing that loaded was a bright, pastel-colored homepage with animated confetti falling down the screen. There was this janky loop of Christmas music playing, but slowed down, distorted, like it had been run through an old cassette player. The top banner just said, "Welcome to the holiday section, where every day is a holiday worth dying for." Beneath that were buttons labeled with different holidays. No, like actual clickable categories. Valentine's Day, 4th of July, Black Friday, Easter, Mother's Day, Halloween, unlisted holidays. This one gave me chills. Each one had its own weird little icon. Like, for Valentine's Day, it was a human heart. Literally, a human heart with a bow on it. The Halloween one was just a Polaroid of a kid in a witch costume, but the eyes were blacked out. I wish I could say I left right then, but curiosity won. I clicked on Black Friday. The page that loaded looked like a regular store, but everything on sale was messed up. No brand names, no real product descriptions, just vague items listed with prices in Bitcoin. Stuff like live capture, 1 adult male, 6 feet 2 inches, Ohio pickup only, 24-hour purge, access pass, Denver only, no cameras, motel staging kit, blood optional, ships discreetly, Happy Meal variant, comes with toy, extra red version available, and under that one was an actual photo of a McDonald's bag, but it looked wrong. The bag was crumpled, sitting on a grimy motel nightstand, and just barely in frame was what I swear looked like a child's shoe with something dark, blood, smeared on the sole. I started feeling sick, like This wasn't even horror movie sick. This was real world. You shouldn't be seeing this kind of sick. I clicked the back button so fast, I almost threw up. But then a little pop-up appeared. You've been gifted a free sample from the holiday section. Confirm shipping address. It had my address, my real one, apartment number and all. I hadn't typed anything. Now I freaked out. I slammed the laptop shut and threw it across the bed. I checked my phone, my other laptop, my main PC. Everything seemed normal. I deleted every message, every cookie, changed every password, didn't sleep a second that night. I even put duct tape over my webcam like it was 2012 again. For a few days, nothing happened. I figured I must have hit some dummy test link or gotten spoofed. Paranoia wears off fast when nothing follows it. That was until Wednesday afternoon. I came home from a coffee run. Starbucks on Sunset Boulevard. I remember it clear as day. There was a package on my doorstep. No label. Just a matte black box with shiny red tape. No tracking info. Just sitting there, like it belonged. I picked it up. It was heavy. Like metal inside heavy. I took it in, put it on the table, and just stared at it for 20 minutes. Eventually, curiosity killed the cat, and maybe me too, and I opened it. Inside, packed neatly in layers of shiny gold tissue paper, were three things. A small red envelope with my name on it, first and last, handwritten in some fancy-ass cursive. A sealed McDonald's Happy Meal box, but way thicker than usual, like wood, with a ribbon. A card that just said, "Happy Black Friday. You've earned it." I opened the red envelope. Inside was a photo, a printed Polaroid of me, at Starbucks, taken from behind the drive-through window. I didn't remember seeing anyone. I don't remember anyone pointing a phone at me. That's when I heard something move in my bathroom. Not like a house creak, a shuffle. And when I say my blood turned to ice, I mean I could feel it slow down in my veins. I grabbed the closest thing, a Swiffer stick, and crept to the bathroom. My phone was in the other room. My idiot self left it on the kitchen counter. I kicked the door open. Nothing. No one in the tub. Shower curtain open. No one under the sink. I checked everything. But the window, the little vent window above the shower, it was open, and I never opened that thing. I stared at it for a long time. I even took a picture to remind myself later I wasn't dreaming. When I got back to the kitchen, the Happy Meal box was gone. I've got so much more to tell you. Like what was in the second package. Like what I found under my bed 3 weeks later. Like how I ended up in a hotel room in Chicago with 4 other people who also got a holiday gift. But I'll save that for part 2. This is real. Don't try to find the site. I mean it. Not unless you're ready to unwrap something you can never pack back up. Do not open until... It's weird how fast your brain adjusts to terror. Not fear. Terror. Real, biological, mind-numbing, breath-stopping terror. Like when you realize your house isn't empty, or that someone's been taking photos of you without you ever noticing. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I haven't been to work. I haven't opened my blinds. I've barely eaten. The black box, the one with the Happy Meal inside, is still missing. But I know it wasn't just a prank or some elaborate ARG. I'm way past that stage. I realized that the second box arrived. This one came at 3:47 a.m., delivered by a man in a Santa suit. I swear to God, no knock, no doorbell, just the low whirring of a car engine, and then the faint scrape of cardboard on my welcome mat. I peeked through the blinds just in time to catch the silhouette. A tall, skinny man wearing a cheap-looking Santa Claus outfit, thin and sagging at the sleeves, like he'd borrowed it from a Halloween store and hadn't taken it off in months. No vehicle, no sound except for a sharp pop, like a balloon popping, right before he disappeared around the corner. I sprinted outside barefoot. Nothing. No footprints, no car driving off, no tire marks, no nothing. Just a new box, wrapped in bright red foil, stamped with the words, "Do not open until the 4th of July." I opened it anyway. This time, there was no confetti, no Happy Meal, just a single VHS tape and a folded American flag, torn down the middle. The flag smelled like burnt plastic and something coppery. I didn't even need to sniff it twice. I knew it was blood. The VHS had no label, just a red piece of duct tape with the words, "Fireworks." I don't even own a VHS player, but I was so far past rational thought, I drove 40 minutes at 4 a.m. to a sketchy 24-hour pawn shop in Santa Monica and bought one. The guy behind the counter had a lazy eye and asked me, without any prompting, "You gonna watch one of those Red Room tapes?" and laughed. Just this wet, chuckling throat cough that didn't sound right. I didn't answer, just paid and left. I played the tape back at home, and I swear to God, it's taken me days just to type this out. The footage starts in a familiar location, a Walmart parking lot, somewhere in the Midwest. You can tell from the license plates and the layout of the lot. Mid-July, just after dusk, judging by the sunset. There's a group of kids in the background, maybe 12 or 13 years old, gathered around a fold-out table selling sparklers. Looks like some local fireworks stand. Totally normal, right? Then the camera pans down. It's handheld, shaky, like someone's watching from behind a car. A low chuckle plays over the audio. No words, just breathing and a faint mechanical whirring. The kids don't notice anything. Then the tape cuts. We're in a basement now. Bare concrete, flickering yellow lights. The kind of lighting that makes your brain itch, like your eyes weren't built to process it. The camera is focused on a metal table. On it is one of the kids from earlier. He's strapped down with silver zip ties across his wrists and ankles. His mouth is taped, eyes wide open and shaking. His name tag is still on. Aiden in Sharpie marker. He's awake. The person behind the camera starts humming the Star-Spangled Banner. Slowly, quietly, deliberately. Then, one by one, he lights fireworks and presses them against the boy's body. Screaming, muffled by tape, thrashing. A bottle rocket fired straight into his chest. A Roman candle propped into his mouth. Each pop echoes like thunder in that tiny, awful room. You can't hear it anymore. You feel it in your teeth. The camera doesn't look away. Not once. At the very end, there's a fade to black. Then a screen that says, "We hope your holiday is just as memorable. See you soon." I sat there shaking for hours. It was still dark out when I finally vomited into the kitchen sink. That wasn't a movie. It wasn't CGI. You can't fake that. You don't get to undo something like that once you've seen it. I did what anyone would do. I called the cops, gave them the box, showed them the tape. They asked me a bunch of questions, took my statement. Then they never called back. I checked 2 days later. The officer who filed the report doesn't exist. The call, not in my phone history. The cruiser number I wrote down, invalid. Someone came. Someone took the evidence. But it wasn't the police. And that's when I started noticing the people. You ever get that feeling that you're being watched? but it's not someone staring at you. It's like being tracked by GPS, but in your skin. That's how it started. First, it was just a guy sitting too long in the Starbucks across the street. Bald, sunglasses at night. Didn't order anything. Then it was a woman at CVS, staring at me from the detergent aisle. Just standing there, holding a bottle of Tide, smiling, not blinking. Then it was the emails. I got one from a name I didn't recognize. Holiday host at parcels.online. Subject line: coming soon, your next celebration. The body of the email was just an image, no text. It was my bathroom mirror, fogged up with writing on it. We loved what you did with the tape. You're one of us now. I hadn't left my apartment in 2 days. The writing in the photo? I ran to the bathroom, wiped the mirror, steamed it up with the shower. The message appeared. I dropped to the floor, curled up and cried, like full-on ugly cried, the kind you don't admit to, even your therapist. This wasn't some creep mailing me from Russia or pretending to be a hacker. They were inside my apartment, and they had been for a while. Then came the third box. This time, it was delivered inside my apartment. No knock, no doorbell. I walked out of my bedroom at 3:14 a.m., and there it was, sitting on my kitchen counter like it had been there forever. A different color, pure white, wrapped in lace. On the top was a handwritten card. For Mother's Day. We know she would have been proud. There was no VHS this time, no flag, just an old flip phone and a heart-shaped locket. The phone powered on instantly. One missed call. The caller ID said, "Mom, I haven't spoken to my mother in 6 years. She died in 2019, pancreatic cancer. I was at the hospice bed. I saw her take her last breath. We had her cremated." I called the number. A woman answered, weak voice, shaking. "Honey, I can't see anything. Why is it so dark?" "Mom," I said. "They said I could talk to you for just a minute. Then I have to go back under the floor. The floor is so cold. Are you still my baby?" Then a horrible sound, like bones crunching under pressure, and silence. I dropped the phone. It kept breathing. The audio didn't end. Even with the phone on the floor, it hissed and wheezed and breathed. It didn't stop until I smashed it to pieces with a hammer. The locket was worse. I opened it, expecting a picture, but it wasn't a picture. It was a piece of scalp, human, hair still attached, curled and dried and folded like origami. Taped inside was a note. "Thanks for being part of the family. See you on Halloween." This isn't a game. It's not some internet horror story. It's real. They're calling it the holiday section, but it's more than that. It's a system, a network of people, murderers, voyeurs, kidnappers. They've got categories, a fucking schedule. I found a clue on the tape static too. I think it said something about Labor Day, but that's another story. There's more, so much more. They know where I sleep. They know who I was, who I lost. And if you've read this far, they probably know about you too. The people who celebrate. Sleep stopped meaning anything after that. I'm not exaggerating. Not the poetic, I barely slept kind. I mean, I would sit on the edge of my bed until the sun came up, fully dressed, lights on, knife in my hand, waiting for something to happen. When morning arrived, I didn't feel relief. I felt cheated, like I'd been stood up by something that promised it would come. I stopped trusting time. My phone clock would jump backward by minutes. My Apple Watch logged steps while I was standing still. Instagram stories from people I followed would show locations I was currently in. posted hours earlier. A selfie someone uploaded from a Starbucks bathroom that I was sitting inside. Same cracked mirror, same stupid motivational quote sticker peeling off the wall, except in their photo, the lights were flickering red and someone had written countdown on the mirror behind them. I deleted every app. It didn't help. 3 days after the Mother's Day box, I woke up with dirt under my fingernails. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just something happening to me. It was something happening through me. I don't sleepwalk, never have, but my bathroom sink was full of soil. Damp, dark soil, like it had been scooped from somewhere recently watered. There was a smear across my hallway carpet, dragged like I'd pulled something heavy. My knees hurt. My wrists hurt. There was a faint chemical smell in my apartment, like fireworks mixed with hospital cleaner. I checked my building security app. The hallway camera outside my door had been disabled for exactly 4 hours overnight. Someone wanted privacy. The email came at noon. No subject line this time, just text. Participation unlocks access. You don't watch forever. Eventually, you celebrate. Attached was a calendar invite. Location, Chicago. IL venue, Holiday Inn, Express, near O'Hare Room, 314. Date, June 21st. Event, name, summer solstice. I tried to ignore it, blocked the sender, deleted the invite, smashed my laptop shut, like that would end it. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from Google Maps. You've arrived at your destination. I was sitting on my couch. The destination listed was Holiday Inn Express, near O'Hare. I didn't pack. I don't remember getting to the airport. The first clear memory I have is standing in line at TSA, holding my driver's license, sweat soaking through my shirt, heart hammering so hard I thought people could hear it. No bags, no phone charger, no idea how I'd paid for the ticket already in my pocket. The boarding pass had a red star printed on it, handwritten. The woman in front of me turned around and looked at it. Her smile faltered, just for a second. Then she leaned in and whispered, "First time." I didn't answer. She nodded like that was confirmation enough. The hotel room smelled like bleach and old carpet. 4 people were already there when I arrived. None of us spoke at first. There was a man in his late 50s wearing a Disney World hoodie, hands shaking non-stop. A woman with half her hair shaved off, scrolling TikTok on a cracked phone that had no SIM card. A younger guy, maybe my age, staring at the TV, where a paused frame showed static shaped vaguely like a face. And then there was the last one. He was calm, too calm, sitting on the bed, hands folded, smiling like he was at a job interview. "Welcome," he said. "They don't like it when we're rude." The rules were printed out and taped to the wall above the TV. Holiday guidelines. Participation is mandatory. Documentation is encouraged. Interruption voids protection. Survivors may be invited back. The woman laughed when she read the last one. Not hysterical laughter, just one sharp bark of disbelief. "Invited back," she said, like a fucking loyalty program. At exactly 8 p.m., someone knocked. 3 slow knocks, then silence. The calm man opened the door. A cot was rolled inside, the kind hotels use for ice buckets and extra towels. Except instead of towels, it carried costumes, party decorations, paper crowns, plastic leis, glow sticks, and at the bottom shelf, sealed black envelopes with our names on them. Mine read, "Host." My hand started shaking so badly I couldn't open it. The calm man helped me. He smiled the whole time. Inside was a GoPro, already charged, and a note. "Tonight is not about pain. Tonight is about belonging." They took us downstairs, through a service hallway, out a side door, into the parking lot, where a white shuttle bus waited with the engine running. The windows were painted black from the inside. No logos, no plates. We drove for 40 minutes. Nobody spoke. The TikTok woman cried silently the entire time, tears soaking into her shirt. The Disney hoodie man kept whispering dates under his breath, like he was trying to remember every holiday he'd ever celebrated. Finally, we stopped. The location was an abandoned drive-in theater. The giant screen loomed over the cracked asphalt like a tombstone. Strings of lights had been hung up, glowing warm and festive. Someone had set up picnic tables. There was music playing from old speakers, summer pop songs warped and slowed, voices dragging like they were being pulled underwater. There were other people there, dozens of them, all wearing masks, cheap holiday masks, Santa faces, Easter bunnies, fireworks, hearts, pumpkins. They clapped when we got off the bus. I won't describe everything that happened next, not because I'm protecting them, but because describing it would mean reliving it in full, and I don't know if I can survive doing that twice. What I will say is this: they didn't force us the way you're thinking. They guided us. They praised us. They thanked us. The calm man cried afterward, big, heaving sobs. He kept saying, "I didn't think it would feel like this. I didn't think I'd feel seen." When it was over, they took our phones, edited the footage, added music, added captions. Then they gave them back. On the bus ride back, my GoPro buzzed with a notification. Upload complete. Views, 12,438. Category, unlisted holidays. I opened the comments. People were excited. People were planning. People were asking how to get invited. And buried deep in the thread, from a user with no profile picture, was a single comment. Great hosting. Halloween's going to be wild. I'm back home now. My apartment is clean again. No soil. No messages on the mirror. No boxes. Just a calendar notification on my phone. October 31st. Location pending. And the worst part? Every time I think about leaving, about running, about telling someone everything, I remember the applause, the way they looked at me, the way the fear stopped for just a moment. I think that's how they get you. October 31st, the night we vanished. There are sounds the human ear isn't meant to hear. I'm not talking about decibels. I mean meaning. Sounds that etch themselves into the meat of your memory. Sounds so raw they don't pass through your ears, but settle somewhere under your ribcage and stay. Halloween was like that. October 31st didn't come like a holiday. It came like an expiration date. The week leading up to it was blank. Literally. I don't remember anything. I checked my phone log afterward. No outgoing texts. No incoming. No screen time. I had no browser history. My fridge was empty. There were bruises on my legs and something written in Sharpie on the bottom of my left foot. October 31st, 7:07 p.m. Don't miss the parade. I had a faint memory of myself standing in front of my full-body mirror, dressed in a suit made entirely of black trash bags, grinning, holding a butcher's knife to my neck, not pushing it in, just posing, like I was trying on the role. The box came in the mail on the morning of Halloween. No knock, no driver, just there. It wasn't black or white. It was flesh-colored, pale, veiny, with a faint synthetic stretch to the surface. Not cardboard, something closer to latex. It sagged when I touched it, like there was pressure inside, like it was breathing. The label wasn't written in ink. It was branded. Halloween, final celebration. Room reserved. Inside, no costume, no props, just a wax mask. My face. Not a Halloween mask. Not a printed plastic look-alike. It was my face. Moles, scars, even the acne scar near my jawline. Except there were no eye holes, no mouth slit. It wasn't designed to be worn. It was designed to replace. There was no hotel this time. No flight. I walked. Or maybe I was walked. It felt like I was remote controlled. The streets were alive, but it wasn't Halloween. No trick-or-treaters, no pumpkins, no goofy costumes. It was people wearing other people. Masks made from faces. Not rubber, not fabric. Preserved, cured, sewn. I passed a man wearing a child's face over his own. You could see the wrinkles beneath the stretched cheeks. He tipped a hat at me and whispered, "That one's fresh. You lucky host." There were vendors on the sidewalks. Not candy vendors, not costume shops. Harvesters, selling body parts, Polaroids, recordings, flayed torsos in coolers labeled unclaimed. One guy handed me a flyer, like it was a club promo. It said, "Need an identity? We've got faces on special tonight only. Bring a pulse." I was guided to an alley behind an abandoned school. You know that feeling when you see a place that used to be bright and safe, now hollow and quiet. It was that kind of place. You could still see the faded hopscotch squares on the asphalt, and someone had poured red wax over the numbers. At the end of the alley, there was a wooden door, painted pitch black, no handle. It opened on its own as I stepped closer, just creaked open like it had been waiting for me. Inside was pitch dark, but I followed the sound. It wasn't music, not exactly. It was a mixture of childlike laughter, metallic clanging, and something that sounded like applause but underwater. The hallway narrowed as I walked. The walls were breathing. I mean actually inhaling and exhaling, subtle movements like a lung collapsing and expanding. When I brushed against it, it was warm and damp, like I was walking through the inside of a throat. Then I reached the stage, a circular platform in the middle of a massive underground amphitheater. The seats were filled with people in elaborate holiday masks, turkey heads, cupids, skull-faced Santas, a man in a pilgrim hat holding a baby monitor that was still on, and me, in the center, spotlight, silence, and a table. On the table, 4 knives, different lengths, one dull, one rusty, one gleaming clean, and a lump covered in a cloth, the size of a bowling ball. A speaker crackled on. Tonight's host has accepted their invitation. The crowd clapped, slow and synchronized, like an execution drumbeat. Tonight's celebration is a tradition dating back further than time. Another clap. Tonight, we carved the harvest. The cloth lifted itself. Beneath it was a head. My head. Fresh. Eyes closed. Slightly smiling. Not a mannequin. Not fake. I don't know how. I don't know why. But it was me. The voice said, "Choose your blade. Carve the mask. Reveal your role." I didn't want to, but I did, because something in the room wasn't letting me say no. Not voices, not threats. Wait. Like gravity had shifted, like my skin would peel off if I resisted. I picked the clean knife, held the head, pressed the blade into my own cheek, and sliced. The moment the flesh gave way, the crowd erupted into ecstasy. Not cheering, screaming, moaning. Some were ripping off their clothes. One man vomited confetti. A woman collapsed and began convulsing in the aisle, hands gripping her own face like she wanted to rip it off. I kept cutting. The inside of the head wasn't normal. It wasn't blood and bone. It was ribbons, colored ribbons, soaked in ink and meat. Each one had writing on it. Names, events, locations. One of them said, New Year's Eve, Tokyo, Japan, 5 hosts needed. Another said, Flag Day, live stream, Amsterdam servers. But the last one said, October 31st, full conversion, trauma complete identity nullified. And then the walls around me collapsed. Literally. The audience was gone. The theater was gone. I was in my bathroom, kneeling in the tub, blood everywhere, a real butcher's knife in my hand. The mirror read, Thank you for celebrating. And in the sink, there was a face floating in bloody water. My face, still twitching. I've tried burning it, tried cutting it into pieces, tried leaving it in a dumpster miles from here. It always comes back. Sometimes it's folded into a FedEx envelope. Sometimes it's lying in my fridge behind the milk. Once, I found it stuffed into the mouth of a stuffed bear I don't remember buying. It smiles wider every time I see it. Yesterday, I woke up to an email notification. The subject line, Your yearly summary, top host highlights. The body was a looping GIF. Me, in a Santa hat, holding my own arm like a turkey leg, laughing with blood dripping down my chest. The caption read, Best holiday ever. Let's make next year unforgettable. The dreams were just the beginning. The black door, the endless hallway, those were just the appetizer. You ever feel like your life is glitching? Not in a Matrix kind of way. I mean reality starts pulling at the seams, like an old hoodie being picked apart thread by thread. That's what it became like, right after Zach and I tried to get rid of the book. 3 nights later, something walked out of my bedroom wall. No, listen, through the wall, not breaking it, not crawling in. It was like watching someone swim through fog. The drywall bent inward like it was breathing, pushing outwards, and then this thing just peeled itself out of the space where my IKEA bookshelf used to be. And yeah, the shelf was gone, like it had never existed. No marks, no screws, not even the little dust outline where it used to be. I didn't scream, I didn't move. I just watched, frozen, like my body forgot how to exist. Zach was asleep on the couch in the living room with noise-canceling headphones, dead to the world. The thing that came out, it looked like someone at first. It had a shape, humanish, but it didn't fit. Its arms were the wrong length, too many joints, shoulders too low, no clothes, no features, just this blurred, rotting gray skin stretched too tight, as if it had been vacuum sealed onto bones that didn't belong together. And no face. It had flesh where the face should have been, smooth like wet paper, but twitching, like something underneath was trying to poke through. It walked past me, didn't acknowledge me, didn't look around, just dragged its long, cracking legs across my bedroom floor and laid down on my bed. Then it vanished. The next morning, my bed was soaked, like someone had poured a bucket of black water all over it. The mattress was humming, not a noise, not like a tone, humming, like a refrigerator or a brain under pressure. Zach saw it too. We didn't say anything. We just stood there in the doorway for like 5 full minutes, trying to process it. I didn't sleep for 72 hours after that. Let me fast forward, because this isn't just some haunted apartment situation. It's way deeper. The book, it started changing. Physically. Pages that used to be blank were filled in, written in languages that glitched in and out like corrupted subtitles. Sometimes I'd blink, and the ink would bleed, smear across the page like it was still wet. The cover started growing. Hair. I'm not kidding. Short, fine little bristles along the spine, black as tar. And the more I read, the more it started making sense. Not in a way where I understood the words, but in that psychotic clarity kind of way, where things click in your head and you don't know why. Like when you stare into static and suddenly you hear your name whispered inside it. The book had diagrams now. One was labeled inversion points. Another showed a house with 4 staircases, all going down, but the last one ended in a black void labeled the bone basement. Zach and I started seeing people outside our window at 4 a.m. They never moved. They just stood there, all wearing the same thing, black hoodies, like from some lame cult. But their faces, every one of them had their mouths sewn shut, and they vibrated, just a little, like they were being filmed on an old CRT camera. The motion didn't match reality, like they were overlaid onto the world, badly edited. When I opened the window to scream, they vanished like burned film, but then they started leaving gifts. First, it was a rabbit's foot, still bleeding, then a dog collar, with no dog, then a child's backpack, with a single sock inside, and that sock was still warm. Zach lost it. He told me he was going to leave, take a bus to his sister's place in Tallahassee. Said he didn't care about the book, didn't care about the dimension. He was done. That was the last time I saw him alive. I woke up the next morning to the smell of something cooking. Not bacon, not eggs, burning flesh. The kitchen light was flickering like it had epilepsy. The microwave door was open. Zach's teeth were inside, arranged in a perfect circle. A small note was taped to the inside of the microwave. He opened the wrong door. You're next. There was no body. I called the cops. They showed up, searched the place, found nothing. No evidence Zach even existed. His room was empty. No clothes, no bed, no posters, just dust, like he'd never been there. But I have videos, TikToks we made together, Instagram stories from 2 days ago, his comments on my Twitch stream, gone. Every single one deleted, scrubbed, erased. I couldn't even find his Facebook anymore. No mutuals, no trace. It was like the dead dimension absorbed him. And that night, I finally opened the door. Not the one in the dream, the real one. See, one of the new pages in the book had changed. It showed my apartment layout, floor plan and all. But there was another room behind the closet, one that didn't exist. I got up at 3:33 a.m.